Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our channel. This is Karen Willock. I'm the family counselor and director of the family program, and glad to have you with us. We are taking a look at a series of different videos on codependency. If you're interested in learning and hearing more, just go ahead and subscribe. Today we're going to take a look at hitting bottom, because like with any disease, we go because we have symptoms. We go see and seek help from a physician or a treatment program because we have symptoms. It's the same with codependency. We seek help when we start noticing these symptoms that we're having. It takes a while for us to have a full knowledge of our condition because many of us have what I like to call, or don't like to call, but do call, a strength distorting view of ourself. So just a segue for a moment here. When we're dealing with shame, which there's shame associated with addiction, there's two kind of symptoms that go with shame that will tell me that I may have some shame on board. For men, the key is they would never want to appear weak. For women, I can do anything perfectly and you'll never see me sweat. Part of that is what makes it difficult for us to identify what's going on with us. So burnout, hitting bottom, coming to the end of ourselves, whatever you want to call it, with codependency, where we're finally teachable and we're willing to put the energy and effort into ourselves instead of sending our energy and efforts out. We want to start to focus back on ourselves. So hitting bottom refers to a place that we finally come to, that we surrender to the fact that I have an issue. Please don't look at yourself with this critical eye. You want to look at yourself as a gentle observer. You want to notice what's going on with you. You want to be curious about, what is that about for me? How come I do that? Please do not use that horrible, critical voice in your head. What's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? Why can't I stop it? Please don't do that. That will not help you, and you have done a fabulous job surviving. And now we want to continue to teach you how to thrive, how to pay attention to the one person you have some control over, you. So part of what happens with codependency is it shows up in ways like this: overwhelming stress and anxiety. And I know that all of you, if you're on this channel, you know all about that one. Feeling constantly anxious, worried, overwhelmed. Sometimes just having the thought like, what's going to happen when this happens? What's going to happen when that happens? Trying to control or fix someone else's problems or emotions. You know, it's so difficult when we watch our loved ones suffering to not be able to change how they're feeling about themselves. And we don't focus on the one person that we can do some changing, which is ourselves. And I'll tell you this, I have watched this and I don't really have an explanation for it, but when parents, and especially parents, maybe it's the DNA that's in our bodies, when parents start to change, it upsets the disease in the family. When one person changes, remember back in the day where they had those mobiles that hung over a baby's crib? Virginia Satir and Bradshaw and all these old timers used to talk about the fact that if you touch one, if one piece of that mobile changes and moves, it affects and impacts the rest. It's the same in a family. As you start to recover, the rest of the family will be affected. I've seen a parent get into recovery and a parent start to take care of themselves, stop enabling. We've talked about that in other videos. Learn how to detach. When you do that, you set the groundwork for your child. Neglecting our own needs is the next thing we do, ignoring ourselves emotionally, physically, mentally, in favor of focusing on their problem. We don't make our own doctor's appointments, but if one of our kids is sick, we'll run them in. We won't pay for our own counseling, but we'll pay for our kids' counseling. So all of that is the neglect of our own needs is astronomical. Loss of identity, feeling like you've lost your sense of self. You no longer know who you are outside of this codependent relationship. When they go into treatment, all of a sudden you experience feeling lost. Like, who am I? What's happening? What am I supposed to do with my time? Your focus and your attention has been other-centered. And all of a sudden, here you are with that loss of identity and terribly low self-esteem, a poor self-image, deriving your self-worth from being successful, trying to manage something you cannot. Boy, that's a big one. And looking for approval and validation from others. Difficulty setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. We're going to look at boundaries in other videos because learning how to set a boundary and how to talk about a boundary is essential. A boundary isn't me telling you what you're going to do. It's me knowing what I'm going to do. That hurts. Please don't step on my toes. That hurts. If you continue to step on my toes, I'm walking away. So there's some simple ways it's not me telling you, you better quit stepping on my toes. Anytime we set a boundary with a you word, those are fighting words. There's always going to be an argument. So we end up, when we don't have boundaries, we end up resentful, angry, and frustrated. And oftentimes what we end up doing then is avoiding. We avoid talking to people, we avoid their calls, we avoid hearing from them, we avoid. So enabling behaviors, which we've talked about at length in another video, is engaging in actions that enable or perpetuate the unhealthy behaviors of your person. Covering up their mistakes, fixing things, paying things, getting the car out of impound, paying for the attorney, all the different things. Caretaking and rescuing tendencies, a strong urge to take care of or rescue others, even at your own detriment. Again, abandoning yourself to take care of someone else. Codependency's primary symptom is chronic abandonment of self. Isolation, you withdraw from friends, family, other social activities because you're overly focused on the codependent relationship, so your life gets very small. The other thing that's very difficult is how can you enjoy your life if they're not? How can you go out and have fun when they're homeless? How can you do this when you don't even know if they're going to stay alive? Plus, they'll tell you that sometimes. They'll tell you, what right do you have? Like your money is their money. It's a very interesting relationship there. The other thing that makes isolation, and I think codependency, all addictions are very isolating and a lonely place to be. With parents and children, when other people's families are experiencing the normal activities like graduations, college search, marriages, baby showers, new jobs, and you're experiencing, I hope they're not in jail. I hope they're safe. I hope they don't die. There's a big disconnect between you and your friends. I will let you know that addiction probably hits more families than we are aware of because there's so much shame, nobody wants to talk about it. So that isolation and avoiding being around people is so painful. We start to experience relationship problems, lots of conflicts and misunderstandings. I don't really like the word dysfunction. I like the word misfunction. We want to do this and we miss the functioning part of ourselves and your relationships, especially with the person that your codependency is focused on. Remember, my disease resides within me. And even if that person leaves or gets into recovery, I still have to take care of my chronic abandonment of self. I still have to turn my focus back to myself. Emotional exhaustion is another one. We are drained physically, emotionally, mentally, just running on E. It's so funny. We know more about our cars that we drive than we do this organism that I get into every morning and start my day. I don't know when I'm on E. I don't know when I'm running hot. I don't know when I'm exhausted. And we literally, this emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual exhaustion bankrupts us. Some of us turn to unhealthy coping mechanisms like chemicals, benzodiazepines. Some of us start using alcohol in an unhealthy way. Some of us overeat or undereat, oversleep or undersleep, gamble. We find different not so healthy ways to distract ourselves from the experience of looking at what the real problem is. Denial and avoidance. We avoid and deny the real problem. I don't think this is something that just codependents or addicts do. I think we inherently want to avoid anything that's uncomfortable. And part of recovery process is tolerating the discomfort of change. That means when they call and ask for money and I say no, I have to tolerate the discomfort of saying no. It's not like all of a sudden it's all makes perfect sense and it's easy at all. This burning out, once we get to the place, and this is the really sad part about any addiction really, we don't have to get all the way to the bottom. We can stop if we're willing to take an honest look at ourselves. So I'd encourage you to think about if you're emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually bankrupt in any of those 4 areas, that could be the clue to you that your codependency is affecting you on many more levels than we realize. How I know that sometimes, how I knew for myself, is I had high blood pressure, I had migraine headaches, I had digestive issues, I had backaches, I was exhausted all the time. I was distracted and unavailable to myself or others. That was the combination of behaviors and experiences that told me I was either going to die with my addict or I had to figure out how I was going to live regardless of what they did or didn't do. That was the stepping place of change. So again, I want to remind myself and you that it takes time to change. It's not a one and done kind of deal. It's practicing. Anything I want to change, there's really only 3 steps to it. First, I have to identify what I want to change. And I do that by noticing what I'm doing that I want to change. And then I find the behavior, the concept, the attitude, the inspiration, and then I practice. So all recovery, the only key ingredients of recovery are commitment and practice. Those are the key ingredients. So if you have found yourself with that emotional, physical, mental, spiritual exhaustion, and we can be helpful, please contact us. Please subscribe to the channel. We'll be giving you ideas about how to help yourself, how to care for yourself, how to show up for yourself, how to stop abandoning yourself. And let us know. We're available. The family program is available to any family members that have people in treatment or not in treatment. A lot of times people think that the family program is only for those folks who have someone in treatment. I started paying attention to myself long before any of my children entered into the recovery process. You don't have to wait for your person. You can start paying attention to yourself. Read, listen, look, study, learn, practice, find your tribe. We all need our tribe. So again, if we can be helpful, Treehouse Recovery, our contact information will be in the video explanation, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.